Hi everyone, today I am going to do a bridal makeup tutorial. I have done a few of these in the past, but I've had so many requests to do an updated version. So I'm going to start actually by just giving you my golden rules for bridal makeup. Lisa Eldridge, rule number 1, don't go for something that is just trending now in terms of makeup, unless it's very you. And it's a look that 10 years from now, when you look at the pictures, it's still going to feel timeless to you and it's not going to date your photographs. So if you see a trend on TikTok and you think that'll be good for my wedding, think twice. Rule number 2, and this is similar to rule number 1, and that is look like yourself. Of course, you want to be a more beautiful, enhanced, gorgeous looking version, but don't have a makeup that makes you almost look like a completely different person. For example, a makeup that changes your bone structure or is so alien to how you normally do your makeup that people won't recognize you. Listen, if you wear red lipstick every day and you want to wear it for your wedding, I 100% support that. I'm just really saying don't go completely opposite to normal. So if you always wear a flick liner, a black winged liner, a little bit 60s style, and you want it for your makeup and it's you and it feels you, and in 10 years time, look at those pictures, you're going to still love it, go for it. You just want to be the best version of yourself. If a makeup makes you feel confident, makes you feel beautiful, that is the right makeup for you. Rule number 3, and this is about your makeup trial with a makeup artist. If you are having a makeup artist do your makeup, this is a good one for you. Firstly, of course, you want to have a trial to see how your makeup looks and how it behaves. Don't be frightened to say what you think, to say how you feel, and don't feel like you have to reply to all that on the day. You might want to live with it when the makeup artist has left, to take pictures, to look at it the next day, the day after, and then if you suddenly think, do you know what, it wasn't me, it didn't feel right, then you just have to be honest. You just have to say something. One thing to add about that, when you're making a choice about who should be your makeup artist on the day, it's not just about how good they do your makeup, it's about how they make you feel. And I can't stress that enough. You want someone who's making you feel good. You want your hype person there that's helping you get through the day. And a really good makeup artist is not only technically brilliant at makeup and will do good makeup, but makes you feel really good. Also, in terms of makeup trials, you really have to get some pictures done. Get some pictures done with flash photography so you can see if there's any flashback at all from any of the makeup, or maybe it wasn't enough, it wasn't defining your features enough, or it was too much. So take pictures in daylight, take pictures with a flash, and also the color that you're wearing can change the look of your makeup so much. So if you have your bridal trial and you're there in a red t-shirt or a navy blue sweatshirt, make sure that you get a similar color to your bridal dress, whether it's white, whether it's cream, whatever color you're going to go for, and hold that up. Make sure that the makeup looks good with that color close to your face. This is key. And to add to that tip, if you're doing your own makeup, then the same tips apply. Take pictures, make sure things last. There'll be more tips as I'm doing the makeup, but just make sure that you really check it from all angles and you check it in the different lights. Rule 4, formulations matter. Long wearing, waterproof. Of course, you can apply them in a really thin way, and I'm going to give you loads of tips today about how to do that. But also making sure that, for example, your prep products sit well with your foundation or your skin tint. You don't want them peeling, you don't want them reacting, you don't want colors changing. This is where practice really comes in handy. Like I say, never try a new mascara on your wedding day. Even if it says it's waterproof, it might not be waterproof for you. So start trying these formulas well in advance and seeing if they work for you and if they're right for you. While we're on the subject of skincare and skin prep really is so key for this big day. You want to use products that you've used before. Make sure you have no allergies. Don't have a crazy new facial or a peel or some exotic new treatment that you just don't know how your skin's going to react. And also pinpoint the type of skincare you're using. So if you have maybe oilier areas, use something different. In drier areas, you can use something different, and practice. Make sure those products, suit you well and sit well with your makeup. Also, when it comes to certain makeup like silica powders and mineral SPFs, they can really mess with your makeup in terms of how it photographs. So the same rules apply to bridal makeup as they do to really good red carpet makeup. And that is making sure that you're using formulas which are SPF free if you're going to have flash photography. Obviously, if you're on a beach in the sun and the pictures are all going to be natural, then that's fine. But again, practice, and try out. Rule number 5, weddings often come with color schemes. That can be your flowers, your bridesmaid dresses, all of that kind of thing. Think about that as well when you're doing your makeup. Obviously, it wants to suit you and suit your skin tone. But for example, if you've got a really orangey lipstick and very cool toned blue roses or something that really clashes, think about that color scheme. Rule number 6, apply your makeup in thin layers and blend really, really well. I promise you, I'm decades into doing red carpet makeup. Thin layers, well blended, last longer. Honestly, trust me on that. This is rule number 7. Textures matter. So areas of your face that you want to mattify and areas that you want to make more shimmery or highlight, this will be really key to getting the best photography. So if you're going to be using highlighters, make sure it's in strategically placed. I'm going to show you that today. Same with powder. So obviously depending on your skin type as well, but think about really addressing those finishes and making sure that things like your under eye concealer isn't too light or you haven't got a shimmery powder under your eyes, because that will all flash back. We want our highlighter and our glow and also the dimension of the face. We want everything to be in the right place. Rule number 8, and this is really straight from my years of red carpet. Flash photography bleaches out makeup. So even if you're like someone, I want really, really natural makeup, you might need a bit more than you're used to using. And don't be anti it, because you're going to take pictures anyway to see. You're going to need a little bit more dimension in your face, a little bit more structure. You might need a touch more sculpting around the eyes, and you want to make sure those lashes look really, really good and dense. So again, take pictures, but you might need a little bit more structure. In the same token, you don't want to go overboard and be overly made up. So it's getting that balance right. And this is where the makeup trial is so important. Rule number 9, you probably are going to need to touch up your makeup throughout the day with all the kissing of everyone and people hugging you and all of that stuff. The kind of things you're going to need in your bag will be Q-tips with a little bit of makeup remover in case you cry and you just want to remove those small areas. You'll probably need some concealer for under your eyes, your lipstick or whatever you're wearing on your lips, and powder and an eyebrow brush. They'll be the essentials. So either ask a bridesmaid to, if you're doing your own makeup, to look after your makeup, or if you've got your makeup artist with you, then obviously that's ideal. One thing to add to that is if you do find yourself crying throughout the day, just gently tap to remove. Try not to rub hard because it can ruin your whole makeup. So just sort of look up and almost just pick up those little tears. You know the way it goes. So on to the makeup, and our model for today is the beautiful Amelia from the House of Eldridge. I think she's just perfect for this tutorial. So Amelia, we're going to start with eye makeup. The reason I like to do that is because very often something will drop down from the eye makeup. Even if you're being super careful, I don't like putting powder under the eyes. I don't like doing the base first. So I'm going to use actually eye gel. I'm putting this on quite heavily because I'm going to put some eye pads on. And this is a really nice thing to do, especially if you haven't slept too well the night before, you've been excited and you might be feeling a little bit puffy. So I would say to do a little facial massage as well, but we'll do that a bit later when we do the actual skin. Now I'm going to put on some eye pads. These ones are lovely because they're reusable. So you can just keep these in the fridge as well. So put them on really nice and cold and they will catch anything that drops down. So there's sort of multi-function, multi-purpose, and how cute. You've got little wings under your eyes. So you want the eye makeup to last all day, so no creasing. So we've got an option between using a primer, so like Pro Prime, or using an eyeshadow base that also works as a primer. So I'm going to use my Ione Liquid Silk, and I'm going to do a buff of that. Nice thin layer. And honestly, bridal makeup's all about the thin layers. So I'm going to do a really thin buff of this. You can use fingers as well for this. So this is creating a sort of base colour at the same time as giving us that crease-proof surface to work on. The kind of eye makeup that you wear really depends on what you're used to wearing. So obviously, if you never wear eye makeup, then you just want something really nice and simply sculpting, not suddenly, huge wing liner or a big smoky eye or something. I'm just going to start by doing a really simple sculpting shape. So I'm just going to add a little bit of definition here, coming into Amelia's socket line. I'm using a slightly rosy shade of eyeshadow, just working there into that socket. Just look straight ahead for me there, Amelia. And just looking where that shape is. Always keep a clean brush just to clean up any edges. Better to build slowly than put on a ton of makeup that it's very hard to blend afterwards. Just keep those brushes moving quickly and lightly. And I like this kind of rosewoody colour with your beautiful blue eyes. So just keeping it really soft. A little bit of definition, honestly, even if you're not someone that would ever sculpt your socket line, because you're going to be photographed all day long. Just even doing a shade just slightly deeper than your skin tone even will honestly make your eyes look bigger, brighter, and just enhance. So if you're someone that's like, no, I'm not wearing any eye makeup, you really should think about just something subtle. I'm just going to go in with a slightly lighter matte shadow under the eyebrow there, just to give, again, definition. What you want is dimension in your face for photography, because it's amazing how much you can lose, particularly if it's going to be flash photography, not daylight. Things kind of almost get bleached out, and having a little bit more dimension is so helpful. So for eyeliner, I think everyone can benefit from a little bit for flash photography. Even if you're like, no, I hate eyeliner. No, you can do it. So it's just literally in between your lashes and smudged, but you do need something. I'm actually just going to show you that technique, but also how to increase that as well. So if you just literally want to get definition, just scrub through the lash line and then go in with a small brush that helps with blending. And give that a smudge. So if you just look straight ahead into the lens. So this is basically, you start to see what even the tiniest bit of eyeliner really blended can do. And it just starts to define the eyes really nicely. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of that. Starting just at the centre is or just after the centre actually is my favourite thing to do, because it just gives that little lift, that little elevation to the eyes. And then just blend everything. I'm going to do a slight tilt upwards or outwards at the outer edge. Just look straight ahead. Just to elongate Amelia's eyes. Again, this is just so nice in camera. And then taking a Q-tip, I'm just going to blend the centre there, because I almost want it not to start until just after the centre. So now for liquid liner, if you're someone that never wears liquid liner, then, and you don't like it, leave it. I would say definitely use an eye pencil. I've used a very dark brown on you, which I think looks good. But if you don't mind a little bit of liquid, I would use it just at the roots of the lashes. If your style is to have a full-on winged liner for your wedding day, and that's your go-to, then go for it. But I love doing this on top of whatever pencil I've done, and then I go back in with some of the eyeshadow I've used, or maybe a little slightly deeper. I'm going to actually mix a little bit of black in with that colour I used for your socket line, and I like to just really push that into, again, to the roots of the lashes. These are all the things, the little tricks that make your lashes look thicker, that make your eyes look bigger, but again make you not feel like you're absolutely caked in makeup, or you're wearing something that is just not you.
I've never really been like an eyeliner flick person, but I do love that trick about sort of just like tight lining to like densify.
Yeah, exactly.
The root of the lash.
It's just making it look that much more. I mean, it's like red carpet makeup, this flash photography, and everything can just get a bit washed out. Now, if you're slightly hooded as well, this is a great time. If you're not doing a real wing, but you want to just get a little bit of something, just to look straight ahead where you're looking now is perfect. And while your eyes are open, you can just create almost like a shadow where you're creating a bit of length to the eye, but without having a definite full-on liquid liner. As I say, unless it's your thing, which, plenty of people love it, but that just gives a really nice effect. Right, before we do mascara, just close your eyes for me. Just going to add a little shine just to the center of the lid there, just the mobile lid. I always love it when you've got just that satin sheen coming in. Again, it's all about dimension and about really showing that contrast between shadow and light. This is Taffeta Fan from the Muse palette. It's a really nice one because it's not glittery. It's more of a smooth, sheeny effect.
I was going to ask if there was any like textures and finishes you would stay away from.
I just think don't do anything that's kind of edgy and you're going to regret later. Unless you listen, it's all about personality and what kind of a wedding you're having. But personally, I probably wouldn't use like metallic. I wouldn't use glitter because you don't know how it's going to photograph. It's like every time you turn, even with like duochromes, people love them, but you turn from one side to the next, it can be completely different. And I mean like the really strong duo, the sort
like
of
a blue-green.
Electric blue to hot pink, you don't know what you're going to get. So better off using just creamy matte textures and then having really selective bits of shine here and there, especially when they're there for a reason. So this is here just to give you that really glossy, lovely sheen. Whenever you blink, or look down, you get that touch of shimmer, which I really love.
Strategic shine.
Strategic shine, thank you. That's the colour, actually. So it's not too white again. It's a little bit more subtle. Very soft rose gold. Okay, just close your eyes for me. I'm going to do some eyelash curling. We're doing this still while we've got our under eye pads on. So in terms of the shape of the eyes, this is my first pass at it. I like to finish off when the mascara's done or any little fake eyelashes done, because then you might think, oh, actually now I'd like to extend the liner and now I want to do more socket line or whatever. So I think start slowly and work your way up. So just look down for me. Going to lift up. Just look at something while I'm curling your eyelashes. I know this isn't the best feeling in the world. That's great. So I'm going to go on to mascara. I'm using water resistant, but actually waterproof is going to be better. And honestly, I would have a good few goes with the mascara of your choice in the run-up to your wedding. So I would wear it on a hot day. I would wear it on a day when you think you're going to cry. I would wear it until you're like 100% confident with the mascara. And as I say, everyone is different. I speak to people who say, oh, that waterproof mascara doesn't work on me. Or, oh, I use this mascara. And I'm like, oh, that's not waterproof. Oh, that's what works for me. So honestly, just keep going and trying out your mascara. So I'd say a month before. And then treat yourself to a new one for the wedding day. But I definitely think you should road test the whole run up. When you're applying mascara, sorry, I'm just poking you there. Just look down for me. Right down to those roots. Scrub, scrub, scrub. Again, this is what you need for great makeup, photographable makeup. This will make all the difference. Let's see. Lovely. Look that way again. And I'm just going to pull out those edges. So we have a nice wing there just at the outer edge. And then once we've done this, we can make a little decision about if we want to do a couple of individual lashes as well. All right, I'm actually going to put a couple of false lashes on just at the outer edge. Not that your lashes aren't already fantastic, but just a couple there. Pop your glue, let it dry. When it's almost dry, dip them in and then just drop. Not on the lid and not too far down. Just on the top of the lashes like that. So the lashes are on, and then once the glue dries, go over with a liquid liner. One that hasn't got a super shiny finish. And just mattify. Because what you don't want is the camera to catch those little shiny bits of glue. So just go over really, really carefully. Open. and let that dry. So onto lower lashes. I'm just going to use a touch of a cream tone pencil. Not too heavy, just want it to be very natural, just through the lower lash line there. And then I'm actually going to do the lower lash mascara once I've done base. Okay, so I'm going to take the eye pads off. It's actually no makeup on them, but still nice to have a little treatment. I'm going to clean off the eye gel as well, just because I want to create my own surface for makeup. And you never know what's going to happen if it's a gel or something underneath your foundation. So I'd rather clean off there. In terms of skincare, I mean, obviously it's all about your skin. You have quite dry skin, don't you, Amelia?
I do.
So I'm going to use a mixture of products. I'm going to use a little bit of the regular Embryolisse on the drier areas. And then I'm also going to use a little bit of pore refiner, because you said you can get shiny here and shiny here. So I'm going to do Embryolisse, and then I'm going to do little small areas of more of a mattifying primer. So this is more of the regular moisturizer, really for the main body of the face, neck, chest as well. And then you can do a nice little massage for this bit. I think when you do your morning skincare as well, give yourself a really nice facial massage.
I always do a facial massage when I cleanse, even in the morning. The cleanser is the perfect.
Yes, that's the best time to do it. And then leave the cleanser on. Give yourself a nice boosting, sort of plumping treatment. I'm going to do moisturizer here and here, and just leave that center bit out where we're going to have more of a mattifying primer. So this is the primer I'm using. So again, just using it where you get a little bit more oily as the day goes on, a little bit more shiny. This is also the pore minimizing one by Bioderma, so it's just really nice for a smooth application. And what I wouldn't do is put any SPF on, unless you're getting married on a beach in a hot country and all of your photography is going to be in daylight without flash. Then I would avoid SPF, particularly the mineral SPF. A lot of the chemicals don't flash back in the same way, but if it's a mineral, so if it contains zinc or if it contains titanium, then there's a good chance you're going to get some major flashback. And if you just want, you're going to be in and out of sun and you just want to wear your SPF, at least just test it. So try it with flash photography, try it with your phone, take images, take a video, and just make sure that it looks good in all lights.
Is that just like a fluffy eyeshadow brush you're using?
Yeah, this is just an eyeshadow brush.
I wouldn't have thought to do that, but actually I feel like for the targeted.
Yeah, and it's great for just getting it where you want it to go. So first thing I'm going to do for skin is to apply some of my Elevated Glow. I like to put this on underneath foundation because it contains Film Excel. So as you blend it out, after about 3 minutes, it slightly sets. It has a mesh sort of effect, and it just gives your skin that little smoothness.
I was just going to say, whenever I use Elevated Glow this way, like first, I always feel like I need to use less base products afterwards.
Yeah,
I think it's because it's so blurring.
And it's good because the formula means that once it sets, all the little pearls don't migrate. So they're not moving around and ending up in fine lines or in pores. This is lovely on the body too. Looks really good in photos. So onto foundation. I'm going to use my Seamless Skin foundation. I love the Seamless Skin foundation for a wedding. I literally developed this foundation for red carpet makeup. So it honestly is the best for looking great in photographs. It blurs, it covers, it sets in a way that you're not going to get shiny and it doesn't oxidize. It was basically for my red carpet clients that I developed this foundation, and for myself, because it's so nice to know that once you've done the makeup, nothing is going to change, the colour's not going to change, and it actually gets better, this foundation, I think, throughout the day. There are 43 shades and it really does look good in real life as well. So not just on camera, not just in photos, but in real life.
Everyone always comments about how skin-like this foundation is. Like, it just doesn't look like you're wearing anything, which is the reason I like it so much.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. The best way to apply it is definitely in thin layers though. Even if you have to build up, you don't need sort of 10 pumps to start with. It really is a couple of pumps, add a little bit more, build those thin layers. Just because the formula is designed to be really in synergy with the skin, it creates this mesh on the skin, and it kind of just sets in a way that, is just completely skin-like. So next thing I'm going to do is some concealer, mainly for under the eyes, because I'm going to do pinpoint concealing, but a little bit later. But I realised I forgot to talk about matching your foundation for your wedding. We just plowed straight in. So, of course, you're going to want something. You're going to need to look at your chest. You're going to need to look at your neck, your arms if they're out, depending on what kind of dress you have, your back, because if you've got a backless one, you need to look. And what we want is a foundation colour that brings everything together. So, of course, it matches closely with your neck, but also that you're feeling that there is this synergy where all of the skin that's exposed feels like it's uniform.
I think you described it as like a complexion communicator to me once.
Communicator, exactly. So it's going to really communicate that all of the skin. Of course, sometimes your back's a little bit more bronzy, whatever. That's fine if it's a tiny bit. But if it goes from a very, very faked tan back, and also when you're having your trial, you might want to think about, am I about to fake tan before the wedding? In which case, you need to do the trial when you have your fake tan, so that you're able to then see how it looks when your face is matching more closely to your fake tan. So yeah, sorry, I did forget to mention that. I'm just going to do some under eye concealer next. I'm going to bring that slightly down just onto this area here, just again to bring dimension into the face. And then I'm going to get a small sponge, here's one, and just press this in. I really like using sponges with under eye concealer, and this needs to be the right tone. So obviously if you're very blue under the eyes or very dark, you probably need a corrector first, but if not, you just need something which is obviously lighter and a little bit brighter than the rest of your face, but not too light, because if it looks white, that does not look good in pictures at all. And I think we've all seen images like that where the under eye concealer has been way too light. And the best way to stop it creasing, if you are just someone who creases a lot under the eyes, you can firstly try using an eyeshadow primer. That's a really thin layer, and give it a really good test out first. Or just apply your concealer, pat it all in, and before you set it, leave it and carry on, chat, see how it works and see what ends up creasing. And then taking the tiniest Q-tip, one of these really tiny ones, little wooden ones, are great for just removing any creasing. And if you remove it beforehand, because everyone's face is different, so it's the physiology of the eye, which will mean that everyone creases in a different place when they're talking. But if you go back in and just remove a little bit of the coverage there, you can still buff it in and sort of blend it back in. But just taking it out selectively where it usually creases is often more than enough to stop it creasing. And that's what I do on any new clients that I have. I never set the concealer until I've seen how it works on the eye. So before I set any makeup or do any concealing, I'm going to add more dimension to Amelia's face. So I'm just going to use, these are cream contours, and I'm going to use quite a lightish one. So it's not about really bronzing, it's about bringing in that dimension. And certainly with a medium or medium deep skin tone or deep skin tone, you'd probably already have done this using two different foundations. So you use a deeper shade around the perimeters of the face and a lighter shade in the center. But with someone like with Amelia's skin tone, I prefer to do this afterwards. So I'll do a layer of foundation and then I'll start to bring a little bit more dimension in. So I'm just keeping it again really light. And the colours I'm using this one, which actually looked grey, and this one, which looks a little bit more olivey bronze, but not orange at all. So focus on coming onto forehead. And you can also do this, of course, with a powder contour at the end and a powder bronzer. Just that I quite like doing it now, even if I'm going to add a bit more powder later, because the foundation is still not set. It's still kind of, you have that kind of tactile finish to the foundation that you're able to really blend into. Great for jaw lines. And then for actual contouring, just look straight there. straight towards me. We're just coming in really at the back of the ear, just in front of your ear. And that's where I like to create most of the shadow. And again, it's using that completely non-orangey colour. So we end up with a really natural contour. And make sure it's high enough up. So need to be up there on the cheekbones, not too low, because it can really drag your face down. So if you think sort of from the top of the ear down, we want all of this to stay light, and the contour is really just here, coming from the top of the ear. So next I'm going to do cream blush. Now is a good moment to do it before we do concealing. So we're getting all of our skin really in synergy here. So I'm taking it in the brush. Make sure it's really worked in. And then just buffing it in with the skin. So making sure that all of those edges and the whole thing feels really in synergy. So the foundation is in synergy with the blush, is in synergy with the cream contour, is in synergy with the highlighter, and everything is thin layers, and everything almost melts into one layer. And we can do our concealing later. Don't worry if we think, oh, we've got concealing to do. That is fine, because we're going to do that as a next stage. And very often I'll finish with a powder blush, even if I've done this stage of using a cream blush, which I want to be like my natural blush. And then I'll finish very, very often, particularly on oily skin, with a powder blush. So I'm going to start my pinpoint concealing now. So anything that needs a little bit of extra coverage, just going to go take out any redness. And you want something that's full coverage and ideally waterproof, or at least very long lasting for this. Because we want to keep everything that we want to keep hidden. We want to keep it hidden all day. So I'm just removing any tiny red marks, or anything that just needs attention. And it might be something where you need to correct a little bit, or it might just be the edge of a lip. It could be a tiny bit of pigmentation. I'm going to come back in a second and show you how to conceal that area where we have blush already as well, where there's a tiny bit of pigmentation. So I'm just... This is like the Photoshop bit of the makeup. Even if this takes time, it's worth it. Because it means that you didn't have to do a really heavy base all over, but you're able to just be selective and patchwork it. And this is what makes the makeup look so good. No filtering, no retouching. And I really did develop this pencil with this in mind, this hyper perfection, this last minute touch of correcting. This is great actually around the lips as well, because it's going to give us a really nice lip line, even if we're using a lip pencil, which we will be, but it's so waterproof that it's great if you're someone that finds that lipstick always bleeds. It'll stop that from happening completely. When you're concealing where you've already done blush, the best thing to do, if you've used a cream blush, is to pop some of your concealer on the back of your hand and then just mix the tiniest bit of your blush in with it and then go in and conceal. This way it will still look nice and blushed. You're not going to end up with a lighter patch. But by the same token, it's going to give you the coverage you need as well. And I'm just going back in with a touch more, just to blend any edges that may be left there. Back to look under eyes, and actually you're not a big creaser, but if you were, this is where I would just remove it from the areas that are creased. But also it's good not to set, because you might decide, you know what, I want a bit more coverage just in this tiny place. It's a little bit like using your pinpoint again, which you can use for this. So I'm going to use a tiny bit of liquid first, and then I'm going to use also a little bit of the pinpoint. Going to use a slightly lighter shade and just lift a shadow. It's just being really selective, so we're not doing that mass blanket heavy coverage, but we're just lifting, if you can see, just a small area there. Now, and only now would I powder, so look up for me. So under eyes, I'm going to use a brush just to gently set. If you have gone in with more product, if you're using correctors and things like that, then you can use a small sponge as well, which I'm also going to use for the rest of the face in a second. And just gently, you don't want to disturb the makeup. And then for the rest of the face, I am actually going to use a small sponge, but I'm really going to push the powder in deeply into the sponge and then just start setting like this. And if we do this well, this will keep us going for most of the day. So it's pushing it right into the skin. And again, I'm using a powder which I know I trust is not going to give me any flashback. I've used it many, many times before, and it's a really trusty one. So again, give yourself a little go, particularly the silica powders, the ones that look very white. If you don't blend them really well and really diffuse them, they can catch a flash and they can look really bad. So check that the powder you're using is going to be photo friendly. So this is a moment when I would use my mist, because obviously when you first powder, you get that skin which suddenly becomes very flat. So I love to use at this moment the mist and then just almost push it into the skin. It helps to blend all the layers together, helps the skin to become really hydrated. I'm just going to go back in now and add a touch more elevated glow. It's what we call the elevated glow sandwich. We have it on the skin, but also we finish with it as well. Just tapping it onto the high point of the cheeks, a little bit onto the nose. And because I'm using such a small amount, it's not disturbing the makeup. And that's the key. Because obviously it is a wet texture and we have now a dry texture because of our powdering, but we can still get away with this if those layers are nice and thin. Touch on lips. Right, to finish off under eyes, just look up for me. I'm going to use a little smudge of the shade that I used in the socket line, so the slightly rosewoody colour, just to frame there, keeping it really soft. Obviously haven't done any mascara yet under there either, so I'll go back in and do some mascara too. And then I'm going in with slightly more browny shade where it's very light, just to make sure that again we don't have a line under there. We want that really nice framing but without looking like heavy makeup. Unless of course you're doing a full lined eye, then ignore this advice, but now's a good time to do your lower lash line and get your mascara on.
I feel like I'm learning so much today about modelling, picked up some new makeup tips. I've actually never seen you do the hand and the loose powder.
The what?
The hand, when you put the loose powder in your hand with the puff.
Oh, yeah. That's a good trick.
I thought I knew them all.
So now that mascara's on, I can see that I can strengthen a little bit the eyes. And I think this is when you kind of start to finish your eye makeup. Once you've really got, it's all coming together. And it's all those final touches that really makes makeup great anyway. So on to brows. And we need a good brow, but we don't want
a good brow.
Anything that looks too drawn on, or we just want to look fabulously, lusciously full brows, but natural. So I'm just doing a little scribble. I love to brush them down first, and that gives me a little bit of an understanding into the architecture and the shape. And then lots of tiny little strokes. And again here, try not to go too blocked. Obviously, if you've got a really natural dark brow, that's gorgeous. But if you haven't, try not to go too dark with your pencil if you're naturally more blonde, and just getting that right tones. This is a very taupey pencil. It has a lot of the cool tone grey, which works brilliantly with Amelia's hair colour. So you can see, although they're very well penciled, they look natural. I'm actually just going to use a tiny bit of gel because I love how your brows are looking at the moment. They just look so natural and fluffy. So I'm going to use a tiny bit of gel, but I'm kind of going to take half of it off because I want the gel to help to set them, but I don't want them to look too gelled, if that makes sense, because they just look so gorgeous. So on to lips. We've already done a lip scrub, which I absolutely recommend you do. I'm going to go straight in with my pencil. This is 2C. I'm going to do a really soft sculpt. Just giving that a buff as I go along. So I just have to rush off and find this brush because this is perfect just to give it that soft look. Smile for me with lips together. That's perfect. Create a really nice shape here. Again, I'm just buffing it a little bit. And these pencils are great because they're more about skin tones and less about colour. So you can create something that's really natural looking, but also gives you the volume. Ever so slightly flaring as well. Kind of a little bit of depth just at the side there coming in to create that really nice 3D effect. And again, just softening that with a brush. So I've got a brand new lip colour. You are the first to have it on. And this is called Society. It's a really beautiful pink. So it's quite a bit lighter than Lisa.
Which is my favourite.
Although it's got a touch of vintage vibes, it's nowhere near as coral or as vintagey as Audrey. It's called Society because of High Society, and this is definitely inspired by Grace Kelly. So it's got a little bit of warmth to it, but without being a coral. Oh, that looks lovely on you. And I'm just going to finish off with a touch from the bullet. Love this colour on you. Let's see. Oh, heaven.
Do I look like Grace Kelly now?
You look gorgeous. Just a final touch. I'm going to put a little bit of elevated glow just in the corner there, just to catch the light, but in a really subtle way. And the body, depending on what's exposed, obviously if shoulders are exposed, chest area, then it's really nice to have a little something. Do you know what? Before we do your finishing touches, let's get your hair done. So we have the whole mood. Off you go. Oh, your hair looks beautiful. Oh, how do you feel? You saw the makeup now?
I'm obsessed.
You feel like a bride.
I really do.
Just doing a little final touch. This is so good on your body because it's got that little tightening effect. Makes everything look beautiful, seamless, and so nice on camera. One last touch. I'm going to go back in with our taffeta fan. Tiny bit more shine just there. You are done, my dear. You look... how do you feel?
Oh, thank you so much. I feel amazing. I feel like as well also because I've worked with you so many years and I thought that I knew all of your tips and tricks, but I simply do not.
No,
Every day's a learning day.
Oh, you look so beautiful. You look incredible. Don't blush.
Oh my gosh.
The blushing bride.
The blushing bride.
I even got you a little bouquet just to complete this look.
Pour mascara. I'm ready. Down the aisle.